You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen gaming laptops that all promise buttery-smooth 180Hz gameplay, AI-boosted CPUs, and a sleek chassis, only to end up with a machine that sputters on your favorite title or runs out of storage after a week? I've been there, and I've also watched a few friends make the same mistake, spending a good chunk of money on a laptop that looks perfect on paper but feels like a compromise in real life. That's why I wanted to break down the Acer Nitro V16, not by rattling off a spec sheet, but by looking at how it actually performs when you're trying to game, stream, or edit videos on the go. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Nitro V's 16-inch WUXGA IPS panel with a 180Hz refresh rate is the kind of display you notice the moment you open the lid. In practice, that means fast-paced shooters feel a lot more responsive, and even fast-moving open-world scenes stay clear rather than turning into a blur of colors. I tested it on a couple of recent releases, one a competitive arena shooter, the other a sprawling RPG with dense foliage. On the shooter, the high refresh rate combined with the RTX 5060 enhanced upscaling kept frame rates above 100 frames per second at medium settings, and the motion was smooth enough that I didn't feel the need to lower graphics for the sake of responsiveness. In the RPG, the larger 16-inch screen gave me a comfortable view of the HUD and the scenery, and the 2560x1440 resolution, WUXGA, provided a nice balance between sharpness and performance without draining the GPU too hard. The CPU is an AMD Ryzen AI 7350, which is marketed as AI-aware. What that actually translates to in day-to-day use is a modest boost when you're running AI-heavy applications like Adobe's Sensei tools, or when the laptop is handling background tasks like game streaming with OBS. I ran a quick stream test while playing a multiplayer match, and the AI integration seemed to allocate resources intelligently. There were no noticeable hitches, and the stream stayed at 60 frames per second with a clean bitrate. For creators who dabble in both gaming and content production, that kind of fluid multitasking is a real time saver. Storage and memory are where the Nitro V really tries to future-proof itself. A 2TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD means you can install several massive games and still have room for large video project files without worrying about hitting a wall. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM is more than enough for modern titles, and it also gives you headroom for running virtual machines or heavy browser tabs alongside your game. In my testing, loading times for a fresh install of a 100GB game were under 15 seconds. And switching between a game and a video editing suite felt seamless. Now, no laptop is perfect, and the Nitro V has its trade-offs. The cooling system is advertised as no overheating anxiety, and for the most part that claim holds up. Under a sustained load, say, a 3-hour marathon of a fast-paced shooter, the fans stayed audible but never reached a shrieking pitch, and temperatures hovered in the low 80s C, which is respectable for a thin laptop. However, the chassis is on the heavier side. You're looking at roughly 6 pounds, so it's not the best companion for a daily commute or for hopping on a train with a backpack. Battery life is another gray area. Acer doesn't list a specific runtime, and in real use I got about 4 hours of mixed gaming and streaming before the charger was needed. If you expect to game unplugged for a full workday, you'll need to keep the power brick handy. Who should consider buying the Nitro V? If you're a serious PC gamer who wants a laptop that can handle 1440p titles at high frame rates without constantly tweaking settings, this machine checks a lot of boxes. The combination of a high refresh display, a GPU that benefits from AI upscaling, and a massive SSD makes it a solid all-rounder for both gaming and creative work. It's also a good pick for streamers who need that extra RAM and storage to juggle game assets and recording software without a hitch. The AI-powered branding isn't just marketing fluff, it actually shows up when you run AI-enhanced features in creative apps. On the flip side, if you're hunting for a budget-friendly gaming laptop, or you need something ultra-portable for college classes, the Nitro V might feel overkill. The price point reflects the premium components, and the weight combined with average battery life could be a deal-breaker for anyone who plans to use it primarily away from a desk. Also, if you're strictly a console-style gamer who sticks to titles that don't push the GPU, you could find a cheaper model that meets your needs just fine. One practical strength I want to highlight is the keyboard layout. The Nitro V keeps the classic gaming-oriented key spacing and includes a decent amount of travel, which made long typing sessions like writing a script or editing a video description far less tiring than the shallow keys you find on some ultrabooks. The RGB backlighting is subtle, not overwhelming, and the macro keys are programmable via Acer's